So if it's happening in villages in the Congo, and the girls know that they don't have to accept this, that's not part of everyday life, it's their body, and they go and get help, what can be done to help educate the women who are actually doing these things to the girls? Because a lot of women are actually the ones that are doing the mutilation.
In the Congo, it's not the women, it is definitely the men.
Oh, is it?
In
Okay.
other cultures where things are happening, I do think that we have the right to go in and share with them our humanitarian beliefs, like the Democratic Republic of the Congo's men need to be spoken to, and maybe the elder women, but you know, you have this class structure, and women are at the bottom.
Right.
Men are at the top, boys are, you know, it's men, adolescent boys, young boys, older women, and it goes down. In Africa, where they're doing the genital mutilation, you could definitely, I mean, Eve's had conversations with heads of these tribes, women and men included, and I don't know if we can change cultural rituals that have been done for hundreds and hundreds of years, but we can create safe places where any woman that's not interested in that being part of her history can come in and be safe. Sad choice to have to make, because if you make that choice, you are banished from your village, never to be allowed to return again.
So who is going in? Is Eve going in and talking? Who is getting the word to these young girls in these villages? Where do they have access to the communication to find out that they don't have to do this? Because I can just imagine young girls, you know, as they grow up slowly in a village like that, and they, you know, see other girls, friends that are older that it's happening to, how do they know, or why do they think that, you know, they don't have to accept that?
From what I understand about that particular area, it was older women that had had it done that realized by getting out and traveling and seeing other parts of this world that that wasn't a common practice, that wasn't a normal practice, and it wasn't a healthy practice. So I know Eve met a woman who lived in Africa, who grew up with these rituals. Once she got educated, started going with a group of other women that she educated into these little tribal areas. Eve actually went over, walked with her, spoke to the men and the women about her beliefs, and she had to do it in a way that wouldn't be really offensive, or they would have shut her down.
That's exactly what I was just going to ask. How did they get through those barriers?
She's just got this way about her, because her intent isn't to make you mad or to make you angry. It's to share knowledge and education that she's come up with, suggestions to make things better for everyone.
I think that that would have to be a very fine line, because especially if something is so touchy, if you will, as that, I mean, a tradition that you've been doing for hundreds of years, someone coming in and saying, no, you have the right to change your mind. I would think that men, especially in the higher positions, would not want someone coming in and sharing that with their young girls.
Not at all, but they haven't, from what I gather, they haven't necessarily stopped her. She's probably limited on what she can say. But there are now little safe places throughout the country that, you know, just word of mouth, grapevine, has gotten to girls. And then this woman has a couple of Jeeps, and she drives through the bush, and girls know that if they see that Jeep, they can hop on it and she'll take them to a safer place. And they probably won't ever be able to go back home.
Imagine the courage of those girls who, I mean, are young. I mean, what are the ages? They've got to be, I mean, what are the ages that they start doing that?
I think they start doing it when women become just past puberty. I think it's a ritual, from what I understand, it's a ritual about marriage and stifling a woman's sexuality so she can be controlled.
So, I mean, think of it. It could be girls anywhere from like 10 to 14 that have to have the courage to get up and say, no, I don't want this. I'm leaving not only my village, but my family, my parents, everything I know behind.
It's a big choice, but they're actually doing it.
And they're doing it for themselves, which I think is a very important issue that, you know, women in the States, they're like, okay, well, you know, I'm doing everything for my family, my kids, spending all this time. Well, if you have girls other places having the courage to think of themselves first, we as Americans need to think of ourselves first and do things first for ourselves. And I mean, we become a better person, a better woman
and better
when we do.
Capable of dealing with all our problems and all of our children and our husbands and our friends and our families if we take care of ourselves. Eve told a story about going to Iran and eating ice cream with women. And the 3 women that she ate ice cream with, if they'd been caught, they would have been put to death. You're not allowed
For
to
eating
laugh.
ice
You're
cream?
not allowed to sing, and you certainly can't eat ice cream. Nothing that makes you feel good. Or at least that was happening when they were under the crazy burqa rules.
It's something as
She
simple
snuck
as...
in and she said that if they were willing to sacrifice their lives to eat ice cream with her, she certainly was going to.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. And in this country, battery is one of the biggest killers of American women. And like you were talking about, it's cultural. You think of how the hierarchy set up in many cultures, in many religions. And no one really has said, you can't do that. We always blame it on the woman. She's not breaking a law being at home with her children and her husband. He's breaking a law by choosing to, control her, to manipulate her through the violence. And in the state of Texas, we have a great law that if there's not a conviction, then the murder of the woman is not counted as a domestic violence. So if the husband kills himself, she's not counted. If there's not a conviction, she's not counted. And the Family Violence Center in Austin has created silent witnesses, and they're silhouettes of these women whose bodies weren't counted, who don't, we need those numbers to get funding. We need those numbers to make you and me understand how dire this is and how important it is that we step up to the plate and we help it change.
You're giving me goosebumps because I'm just thinking of a woman who died in that situation, and just think of, I don't know, like if I was related to that person, I would almost in a way feel like she's not important enough.
Exactly.
Her death, her life wasn't important enough to be counted.
That's right.
Laura, when we come back, we're going to talk about what we can do as individuals to help end this. For VDAY festivals and vagina monologues in an area near you, go to www.vday.org. UNICEF, turning pain into power. For information and how you can help, go to www.unicef.org. Welcome back to the show. If you're just tuning in, we're talking with Lori Thompson of VDAY here in Fort Worth, Texas. Every 15 seconds in the United States, a woman is battered. Every 15 seconds. So as I'm speaking right now, 2 women are being battered. And if you think this kind of violence stuff is happening overseas, 50,000 women and kids each year are trafficked into the United States for forced labor. 50,000. It's not just happening over there, it's happening right here in your backyard. Lori, what can we do? Well, before we talk about what we can do about it, let's go back to the silhouettes.
Yes. Texas Family Center in Austin, Texas Family Violence Center in Austin, which is a nonprofit that is really serious about ending violence, domestic violence especially, realized that a law in the state of Texas does not count domestic violence victims if there's not a conviction. So if a woman's husband, boyfriend, partner kills her and then kills himself, she's not counted as a domestic violence victim. If there's no conviction, if he flees the state, if it just drags through court forever until there's a conviction, there's no record of her being a domestic violence victim.
And I was just telling you at break that I think that is really sad. I mean, it's unfortunate as it is that a woman is not being counted. It's unfortunate that she needs to be counted in order for us to choose to do something about it. If it happens to one person, 100 people, 1,000 people, it shouldn't take hundreds of thousands of women to be victimized in order for us to decide to do something about it.
That's right. The Texas Violence Center created silent witnesses, which are silhouettes that are life-size and a lot along the lines of how the woman's body really looked. So they're not all paper doll cutouts.
Right.
And they're made out of plywood and they're on stands, and they have a plaque in the shape of Texas over the heart on the silhouette that tells you how the woman died, when she died, and other information about her.
Where is this located?
Austin, Texas is the Family Violence Center. And Safe Haven is one of our benefactors, and they actually have, from the Texas Family Violence Center, some of the silhouettes, the silent witnesses, and they'll be throughout the lobby at CASA for our event.
So if you're ever in Austin, you must go
Stop
down
by there.
and check that out. I'm sure that would be a lasting impression you will never forget.
That's right.
So tell us what we can do, because I think that a lot of people, which is a main reason for my doing the show, not only this show but my talk show in general, is I feel that a lot of people don't want to care about issues. They don't know about issues unless somehow it directly affects them, unless they know somebody that it's happened to or someone that is going through something similar. There are so many issues, so many things out there, and just by doing a show like this can give people a little bit more information in order to not only do something, but just to become more aware of these things are actually occurring. So what can we don't have to necessarily move mountains like Eve, although that would be fabulous and fascinating, but what can we as individuals do?